Self-publishing versus traditional publishing. It's usually presented in, a choice. Do you want this one or do you want this one? Which is better? But I think the idea of better is misleading because there's publishing decisions, and I'm going to talk about one of those in this video, that no one really explains. So that helps you ultimately decide which path to take and whether your book is going to sell or not. I'm Melody Ann, your guide, and this is Author Odyssey. Most authors approach this, which path do I take, by, as I said, trying to identify that better option. But this is not how it works. Every publishing path works if you understand the trade-offs involved and who's responsible for what. There are successful self-published authors, there are successful traditionally published authors, and there are authors in both categories whose books never gain traction. So the real question is not which path is better. The real question is which path is best for you in regards to selling your book. So in self-publishing, you own the entire process. It's yours. You control the timeline, the product, the pricing, the distribution setup. This level of control is what draws many authors to self-publishing. However, it also means that you are fully responsible for whether the book sells or not. There's no external system supporting you unless you build it. It's your job to build the system that gets the books into the hands of your readers. Traditional publishing, on the other hand, works very differently. You're selected. There is an existing system, and you ask whether you can belong to the system, and the publisher decides whether they choose you or not. If they choose you, they invest in your book. They oversee production. They handle distribution in the market. They get the books in the bookstores. In exchange, you give up a degree of control, sometimes a significant degree of control. The timeline is not yours. The pricing is not yours. The positioning, maybe it's partially yours. It's usually partially yours. What you gain is reach. So you're more likely to get into the bookstores, but that isn't a certain sell. So when we're talking about self-publishing versus traditional publishing, we're not really just comparing formats. We're defining responsibility. At the core, publishing comes down to this: who is responsible for your book's distribution? Once it's printed, and the printing the book is not the hard part. Distribution is the hard part, because distribution is what determines whether a book sells or not. Each path carries a different set of consequences. With self-publishing, you gain freedom, but you can often feel isolated. You gain speed, but you also have a lot more pressure. You retain ownership, but that means you carry full responsibility. With traditional publishing, you gain access to support, but only if you're selected. You gain distribution, but that doesn't guarantee results. And you gain credibility, but that's at the cost of control. So both paths can work, and both paths can fail. Because in both cases, success depends on whether the book actually reaches readers. That's the important piece. So instead of asking which path is better, it's more useful to ask, who is going to get this book, my book, into the hands of readers? Am I building that system myself, or am I relying on being selected into an existing system? Because that is the publishing decision no one explains. And it is the one that determines whether a book sells or not. Now, if you want to explore this more deeply, specifically how distribution actually works in practice, and how to position your book so it can move, even as a self-published author, I've put together a workshop that walks you through that in detail. If you're interested, you will find the link below.